Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. So today we're going to try to test our method that we just wrote in the previous video I recorded. This won't take long. You can use this technique to test any method that you've just written, more or less. There's some things you can't do with it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we have all of our buffers we're going to use just in water. There's no column on the system, and I have put a fraction collector rack inside the fraction collector, but there's no tubes in it. And I only need that so that the fraction collector will read that a fraction rack is there. Okay, so we're going to go to the method that we just wrote right here. And this is the method we wrote from scratch. Okay, so this is the run setup menu, and you have to be able to get through this for every single method you might write. Here's the rack that I put in here. Again, there's no tubes. Go next. I'm going to skip all the variables. So we have to use scouting here. We have it programmed to do scouting. But I don't want to do any of these other runs. So I'm just going to delete them. So what I can do is I can hit like included right here. I can just select this radio button, or I can delete it. So here, yes, move. And so this one is also done here. I do want to be able to test my SIP function, so I am going to select SIP for this run right here. Okay, we're not going to load 500 mils either. This is going to be really quick. All right, so we're going to hit next, and then we're not going to record any results, and then start. Okay. So we're going to pay attention to the run log down here as things go by. All right, so you kind of have to have the method memorized a little bit when you try to do this. If you don't have it memorized, that's fine. You can just go up here to this button, and this brings up the run documentation. And we can just go to text instructions right here. We can see that the method right now is currently, it should be washing buffer A. Yep, right here. So it's washing buffer, sorry, not buffer A, which is currently washing buffer B, right? And it's doing that inside the method settings phase. So method settings phase right there. Okay, so let's go look at it over here. And you can see method settings phase, pump wash. So the next thing it's going to do is read the method flow rate block, and then it's going to open this column equilibration block, and then it's going to open block delay A. So there we go. There's delay A right there, right? Okay, I'm going to close this documentation window because it gets kind of busy here otherwise. We're just gonna have to sort of remember what else is in this method. So we'll hit close. Hopefully I get it right as we go through this. All right, in order to speed this up, I am going to hit manual and then execute manual instruction. And then I'm gonna go all the way down here to the other radio button, and I'm gonna select next breakpoint. And what this does is, so right now we're on delay A, right? It's gonna do this it's supposed to do this for 10 mils. But when we hit next breakpoint, it's just going to skip that breakpoint that we wrote in here for 10 mils and just go immediately to the next thing, which should be equilibrating column for, I think, 1 CV. So I'm just going to hit execute. And here you'll see that the next breakpoint was hit, and then we opened up the column position right here. And so this is what we're checking for. We're asking, is the column position open right now when we want to open it? And the answer is yes. So we can see the green there. If we wanted to, we could go over to the system and see if it's dripping. So great, we know that this part of the method is working. So as we recall, the next part of the method is sample loading. So this can be kind of tricky because there's a lot of instructions that go by, and they all have to happen in precisely the right order. So let's cross our fingers and see if we can turn off the system pump and then turn on the sample pump to the right position, because right now it's a buffer and needs to be in sample 1. Execute. So reading the run log, right? And here's I saw the sample loading phase go by. Where'd it go? Phase load cell harvest right there. Okay, so now the sample flow is on at 3.6 mils a minute. I can see S1 right here. If I bring this down, you can see sample flow right there. Great, and it's going over the column. So that's exactly what we want. All right, so the next thing we want to do is test to see whether the system will detect air and that will stop loading, and that the column and the flow will switch back to the running buffer line, which is A1. So that's the next step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the bottle that has the water in it, and I'm just going to lift the tube. All right, so here's S1. You can see that right there. We're going to lift the tube, and then if you watch carefully, you'll see the air bubble go by. There it is. So we're going to wait for it to go into the inlet valve back here. Put my cursor right there. Here we go. All right. Oh, I heard it switch. Okay, we see that the sample pump detected air and that we moved through the reset system block, and now we're going back to the running buffer, right? Okay, and the column looks like it's still open, so that's great. And now we're in the column equilibration phase. So next, we're going to see the elution phase, so we should see a switch over to the B buffer line. Oh, that's right, there's the outlet valve, so we can finish collecting the waste. So we'll hit next breakpoint again, and there's 100% B. Okay, great. And we're in delay D, so we'll just let that fly by. Okay, great. And then the auto zero is done, delay E, and now peak fractionation. So I don't actually have anything loaded on the column, so I can't test whether fractionation will work here or not. So this is a bit of a mystery, but that's okay. Usually peak fractionation is pretty reliable. So I'm going to hit execute, and we're going to go to the next breakpoint, which should be the column cleaning. So B went down to 0, peak fractionation was stopped, and we slowed down the flow rate. And so now the inlet is A2, right? So this is where the guanidine hydrochloride is supposed to be for this method. That's great, and it's still going over the column. Is it? Yep, it's going out waste. It's not going through the fraction selector anymore. That's great. That's exactly what we want. All right, so it's supposed to do this for 30 minutes at this flow rate, but we're just going to hit execute and move on to the next breakpoint, which should be column equilibration. Here we go. There's the column equilibration phase. Column is still open. We went back to the running buffer, A1, and we should still be going out waste. Yep, we are. So I think the next thing is that the flow rate is at 2.5. We're supposed to bump the flow rate back up to 3.6. We'll hit next breakpoint. Okay, 3.6. Great. Everything else seems like it's still stable. The same. Yep. All right, so next breakpoint again, and this should end the method. Beep, beep. All right, great. Thanks. That's all I wanted to show you. We can see that we were able to test the method, most of the operations in it. I hope this helps.